So, we're going to start this video off with a little bit of a story time. I say a little bit. Growing up, I remember I used to be called creepy by some girls in high school. And it would confuse me greatly because I wouldn't really do anything in particular to them. Like, I wouldn't, stand really close to them or, breathe down their neck, or, grab their hair, or whatnot. I wouldn't do any of that kind of stuff to them. So the fact that they always called me creepy when I didn't really try very hard or try very much to do anything to them or with them or even converse with them for that matter was rather confusing. What was more confusing to me then was the fact that there were female friends of mine who didn't think I was creepy and who rather enjoyed my company. So there's this odd juxtaposition. One group is saying that I'm creepy, the other is saying that I'm not. So what the flip is going on? Interestingly enough, I'll never forget the day it all clicked, it all came together. I remember I was sitting on the bus on our way to school, and just as the bus stops to do his routine check on the train tracks to make sure he can proceed, I sat there and I thought to myself, what is the similarity between all of the girls who say that I'm creepy and the ones who don't? And it hit me like a bolt of bloody lightning. All of the girls who said that I was creepy were promiscuous. And maybe promiscuous, actually no, it's not too heavy-handed. I was going to say it's a bit heavy-handed, but that's just what they were. Maybe not all of them, right? Maybe just a few different dudes, different boyfriends and whatnot, but that's the long and short. And what I kind of ascertained was essentially they were being made to be uncomfortable by a sexual attraction they assumed I had, but I really didn't. Of course, it was their assumption, so I came off as creepy because they thought that any behavior I was making towards them was me trying to date them, when it really wasn't. This has actually been a problem consistently I've seen with young ladies. Some women, which is weird, never pick up on the fact that I'm trying to date them, and then some women assume something that just really isn't there. Usually they're a little bit more egotistical, but we'll save that for another video. The point is, I understood what being creepy was in that moment, and it didn't really bother me anymore whenever any woman referred to me as creepy, because again, I'm just you're just assuming something isn't there, and you're kind of a nasty person for trying to weaponize a sexual attraction I don't have, to feel better about yourself or to feel worse about me, but I digress. I saw this video on TikTok, or at least I saw part 4 or 5 on TikTok. Went down the rabbit hole and found myself greatly annoyed. So here we are with this lady here trying to explain what being creepy is all about. And again, I found it extremely annoying and decided this might be an interesting video to come up. So she's going to take us away. It's going to be a bit disjointed at first because she's responding to whatever she's responding to. And honestly, her response in this first video kind of doesn't really answer the question, but whatever. This is where we're starting with. She'll take us away.
I think you're a little confused. The opposite of feeling creeped out or cautious or on guard is not attracted. It's comfortable. Attraction is a completely separate thing with completely different factors. It's hard to get to attracted without first feeling comfortable. But plenty of attractive men have made me feel creeped out. And plenty of unattractive men have made me feel comfortable and safe and not creeped out by their presence. But that doesn't automatically mean I was attracted to them. If you want, I can explain exactly what creepiness is. But you've got to get the misogynistic myth out of your mind that women just made up the term creepy to describe looks when it's so much more about your actions.
First of all, the framing of this being some misogynistic myth, as if there isn't some type of reason or rationale as to why some dudes think this way, is rather dismissive. And I could be a jerk and say it's rather misandric, but I'm not her. In other words, there is as I just described in the preamble to this video, experience that young men are feeling about being labeled creepy when they're not actually doing something in particular. In fact, the idea of what is creepy to a young man is not the same as creepy to a woman. Now, later on, she does describe some things that do make sense, but despite the fact they make sense, it really highlights the halo effect or the effectiveness of attractiveness when it comes to this conversation, more so than I think she was ever actually trying to do, but, she wasn't. I guess she didn't really think too hard about what she was saying, but that's what I'm here for. So that's where we're starting with. She doesn't really say much, but this does open the door. Next video, she actually explains what is creepiness.
Let's talk about what creepiness is, because a lot of men spread the myth that it's another word for unattractive.
And it really kind of is, unfortunately. I'll explain.
And it takes about 3 minutes of listening to understand that's not true. This study explains creepiness with threat ambiguity theory. Basically, if it's ambiguous whether or not something poses a potential threat, then we feel creeped out. Not to be confused with something being determined a confirmed threat, which would cause us to up and run and scream and make a scene. No, this is ambiguous whether or not it's a threat. We're not sure. If we're not sure if someone is a threat or not, then we can't break the social contract and scream. Instead, we just have to act natural and feel very hyper aware and hyper vigilant of that person. That, my friends, is creepiness.
So essentially, creepiness is ignorance. You're not sure if you should be afraid, so you feel creeped out, I guess. I'm not sure I can entirely resonate with that because, again, being creeped out to me seems rather clear that there's a problem. If something is creepy to me, there's clearly an issue, henceforth why I feel creeped out. This idea that creepiness comes from the ignorance of not knowing how you're supposed to feel seems odd. If anything, that's really more what being awkward is all about. If someone is being awkward, they're not sure of what the rules of engagement are. So they're trying to be polite, but they may be coming off as being withholding or being kind of cold, when really they just don't really know where they should stand. They don't know if they should make a joke or if they shouldn't make a joke, if they should lean into the conversation, they shouldn't. That would be that degree of ignorance that, again, we should call awkwardness. Creepiness, on the other hand, really is denoting a type of uncomfort, which she is echoing constantly throughout these videos. If something is making you uncomfortable, is it really your ignorance on how to feel about it? Or is it because you think that there's actually a problem here? If you're unsure if there is a problem, then again, you're in a wishy-washy area of awkwardness. I've never actually really heard anyone describe creepy as the ignorance of knowing whether you should be afraid of a threat or not. Snakes aren't creepy because you're not sure if you should be afraid of them. They're creepy because you know that they're dangerous in the first place. Same thing with spiders. And also because they're just kind of weird and befuddling looking beings in comparison to humans to begin with. Why do you think women are so creeped out by insects? Because they're all like... Now, I don't really fully agree with the definition, but allow us to proceed with this understanding that it is the threat ambiguity. So a question has to be asked. Why do some men make women feel this threat ambiguity while others don't? I mean, on account of the fact that if this is a first meeting or first introduction, there you would say, where's the ambiguity?
When you understand this, everything else about creepiness will make perfect sense. Men tend to be bigger and stronger, so if they are a threat, they are a more dangerous threat.
Here's the problem. You've just defeated yourself. Considering the fact that men are 99.9% of the time always bigger and stronger than women, at the very least, like stronger, like literally just down to our bone density and muscle, and just like muscle fibers, the threat wouldn't be ambiguous at all. The threat would be clear. Unless you're saying that a woman is ambiguous on whether to be afraid of this big strong man because she doesn't know if he'll hurt her or if he'll protect her. So she's like, what type of man is he? No, I'm creeped out. Except we all know that is not what they're thinking. I know that's not what they're thinking because, well, I'm a human being and I see their behaviors and the actions that they take when they are put in front of an individual who's like that. They're not creeped out by big, strong, muscular men. In fact, oftentimes they're rather turned on by it. And I wonder why that is.
That's why both men and women, 95% of people, rank men as more likely to be seen as creepy.
Well, people view men as more likely to be creepy because they're oftentimes not really, like, attractive or nice to look at. Which I know is more me presupposing than explaining. But the truth of the matter is, there is no threat ambiguity with a man. It's clear. You understand the threat clearly. The question is, what would make that ambiguous? What's the factor that makes you look at an individual you don't know immediately upon sight and then being like, I don't know how they're gonna act. Let's just not kid ourselves. It's their physical appearance because that's all the information you have presented to you when you first meet them. Let's stop acting brand new here.
And women rank the possibility of sexual threat as the highest level of creepiness, which makes perfect sense since it's the #1 type of threat we face.
I do wonder why women would be so afraid of men sexually when they also desire men sexually. I do wonder, what is the thing that splits the difference between sexual attraction and sexual fear? Maybe it has something to do with the woman's desire for the man present. Technically speaking, actually, I don't even need to spoil it. In fact, let's just move on to your next part. Let's just go ahead and continue.
That's because it doesn't negate it. More than one thing can be true at a time, my friend. Creepy does not equal unattractive. That's just the facts.
Saying here is just on its face technically true. In other words, an attractive male can perform creepy, unsettling acts, like stalking, standing too close to an individual, looking over their phone, trying to Google or sort out more information in a normal conversation, trying to figure out when they'll be alone. Like an attractive dude can do creepy, unsettling things that can denote, like, actual danger. Interestingly enough, for some odd reason, people don't ever seem to denote the problems with attractive men doing creepy things. It's almost like there's some type of effect that makes you think more positively of someone that looks good, as to where you wouldn't give that grace and consideration to an individual you don't think looks good.
Watch the last video, but creepiness is the feeling we get when there is an ambiguity of threat.
On a technicality, when it comes to young men relative to women, there's never any ambiguity of threat. Men always pose a physical threat to women. So again, the question remains, what splits the difference? If every man technically is always a threat to women, how come all men aren't creepy? How does any woman find herself in any relationship with any man? You all know the answer. It's her sexual attraction to said man. Think about it for a second. You think this is like really goofy here. How is it that women, or at least everyone loves to say in an evolutionary psychological way, women like big, strong, powerful men that they can attach themselves to? But they're also afraid of sexual violence of men who are bigger and stronger than them. On the one hand, they want the man to protect them from other men. So what splits the difference between these two different men? Let's not kid ourselves here. It's not character, virtue, and steadfastness in the love of the Lord. It's the fact that the woman finds him sexually attractive. Now, how do I substantiate this? It's the fact that women still somehow find themselves in abusive relationships with said ye old attractive men who is said physical threat to her. Now, how is that possible? Well, it's possible because she didn't actually view the threat, because she ignored it, because she found the person sexually attractive. Versus the individual she doesn't, she immediately sees what the threat is. Because there's nothing to click or turn off that, how do you say? There's nothing to click or turn off the disgust factor that a woman has, or anyone has for that matter, when they see someone that is unattractive or they don't like looking at. Which I'll further explain in a moment, but let's just let her continue.
How human beings quickly perceive our threat level is based on a wide variety of factors, including looks. When someone is exceptionally good looking, people are less likely to see them as a potential threat, which means a good looking person can get away with things that a regular looking person can't. But this isn't some delusional thing women do while flirting. It's a well-documented social phenomenon that impacts all human beings, both men and women, in all types of settings. Really good-looking people are perceived as smarter, better, safer, more trustworthy by both men and women. It's called the halo effect. It's why beautiful people are ranked higher in job interviews, good-looking people make better spies, and why good-looking men and women get shorter prison sentences from both male and female judges.
It almost sounds like you agree with what they're saying.
And why having Eurocentric beauty standards is problematic, but I digress. So do looks impact how you're perceived in the world? Absolutely.
So it would appear that you are agreeing with what they are saying. It would appear that you have full understanding of the point that is being made here. That was always being made here. That while it's true that an attractive person can do dangerous, creepy, and let's just be frank, abusive things, they get away with it. The red flags are ignored. They're allowed to break social convention, whereas an unattractive person is not, because there is no barrier between that. There's not even any grace that this is a neutral party. A lot of the times people just assume the worst of unattractive people. it would appear you seem to have grasped at least half of that, so what is your video series about?
If you want to be non-creepy, all you have to do is eliminate the ambiguity of threat, which can be easily done no matter what you look like. And yes, there's been ugly men that have put me at ease and hot men that have creeped me the heck out.
Yeah, but my friend, what you just did there was, which is interesting, is you didn't actually answer how to eliminate threat ambiguity. What you did was explain what they were trying to explain to you from start to finish. That when you're an attractive person, people have more grace, they prefer you more, and they give you more passes. Now, oftentimes, the motivation behind that might be because they want something from you, but, we can talk about that some other time. The long and short of it is, these people are not viewed as creepy or as a threat because you want them. An unattractive person doesn't get that grace. Even if you don't want to go as far as to say unattractive, just average, normal-looking people that you don't think are sexually attractive don't get that grace. And as such, if they break social convention, if they do anything you don't like, it's easy to be creeped out by them, to think the worst of them, to think that they're going to do something or assume a sexual desire that isn't even actually there to be offended by them. So you just defeated yourself. And what's interesting is you don't even seem to recognize that.
It is remarkably easy for me to disprove this, but you will have to be capable of listening for about 30 seconds. Number 1, I've been creeped out by hot guys. Number 2, ugly men have made me feel at ease around them, even if I wasn't attracted. Number 3, I and pretty much all women have had the experience where a man went from creepy to non-creepy, or vice versa, in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, my friend, as such should be the case. But as I just said in the last clip, it would appear that you don't realize you defeated yourself. Notice that the attractive men had to creep you out. The unattractive men had to make you feel comfort.
Did they Scooby-Doo villain pull their face off and change the way they look? No! They simply did something in their communication that made us feel safe and at ease or uncomfortable and creeped out. Do looks factor into people's perceptions of you? Sure. But actions and communication matter so much more.
Yeah, they had to make you feel that because the presupposition is that you didn't feel that immediately. So they had to do something. What that something is, you have not explained in your TikTok videos, up to this point at least. They did something. You don't tell us what that something is. I don't know why you won't tell men what this something is, but whatever it is, we don't know it. So you keep saying that, but you're not explaining anything. So, yeah, here we are.
It's such an internal feeling that is so very different from being unattracted, and men understand this too. Men are regularly unattracted to someone or something without feeling creeped out by them, just like women are.
I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I'm not really even entirely sure if that is true. It seems like anytime I am unattracted to a woman, she does simultaneously creep me out. There is something kind of off base about her face, something that's a little weird, a little something that's a bit unsettling. You see, as it turns out, and I actually learned this from Louise Perry, I'm sure there's some scientific words to be used here, but I don't know them. Essentially what happens when you have sex with someone, I know this sounds like a non sequitur, but it's important. What happens is the part of your brain that feels disgust is temporarily turned off to allow you to have the sexual intercourse. Because as it turns out, sex is actually really gross and nasty. When you're not sexually turned on, it's really gross and nasty. I can prove it to you really easily by the way that everyone always reacts to sexual jokes when they're not turned on versus the things that they do when they are turned on. That front alone. But I can prove it to you even more. Think about what happens when someone sneezes. When someone gets snot on their hand. Think about what happens when someone sneezes on you or around you. It's gross, it's nasty, it's disgusting. Think about the fact that we actually have videos of young ladies having ejaculate on their face. On the one hand, if someone sneezes on you, it's disgusting. If a man ejaculates on your face, somehow it's sexually enticing. How does that make any sense? Well, snot has bacteria and can infect you and make you sick, and that's why evolutionarily, that's how you... Okay. Semen can have HIV in it, and it can have syphilis and gonorrhea So, to be fair, semen can also carry bacterial and viral infections. So that's not even true logically, if that is what you were going to say. The long and short of it is, the reason why you're fine with facials is because you're sexually activated when you look at this material or you have a sexual association with it. The reason why you're not fine with snot is the same reason you're not fine with any other body fluid being thrown or splashed on you, because it's gross and disgusting. Again, this sounds like a non sequitur, but it really isn't. The reason why women are fond, and this isn't just for women, it's for men too, are fond of attractive people kind of doing whatever the flip they want, is because the part of their brain that would be disgusted by the things that they're doing is clicked off. Now, some attractive people may be able to do something that is so befuddling or creepy, as you say, that it gets clicked back on, but essentially, when you find someone sexually attractive, they become less disgusting because you're about to have sex with them. Or at least that's how your brain perceives what's going on there. And as such, I have, better than you at any point in time, just explained creepiness. Because again, what the woman is assuming when they're in these sexual encounters with men is that they are going to have sex with this unattractive man, which is disgusting. Hence the fact that they feel uncomfortable. Hence he becomes... fill in the blank. Anyway, wrap us up.
So we're going to talk about what creepy feels like using urinals. Picture and feel this. You're using a urinal and a man comes past all the open ones and goes to the one right next to you. That's what creepy feels like.
You know, I'll give you this one, my friend. I do think that your urinal example is actually rather apt. So apt, in fact, I'm going to use it to really solidify my point. Here's the thing. The reason why guys aren't really fond of standing next to each other at a urinal is because it comes off as gay. And you're probably wondering, why does coming off as gay make men feel uncomfortable? To be quite honest with you, it was this understanding of why some dude being gay coming off as uncomfortable that helped me fully understand what it really meant to be thought of as creepy for a woman. I wonder, putting together what I said at the beginning of the video, if you've made it this far, putting together what I said in the previous clip about your brain turning off your sexuality, put it all together, why do you think that it might be a little creepy? It might have to do with the fact that an assumption is made. That assumption being that if this dude is gay, he's sexually attracted to me. And I'm not sexually attracted to him. Starting to put all the pieces together.
Let's talk about why that feels creepy. Number one, you're in a vulnerable position. Your pants are down around your ankle. I don't know. I've never used a urinal. Well, I have actually. The key is to going backwards. The point is you're exposed and feeling a little vulnerable. Because women are smaller and weaker than men, we always feel a little vulnerable when interacting with you.
I wonder why being smaller and weaker is such a turn on when the dude is attractive. I wonder how that works. It's almost like that splits the entire difference in what you just said there. So, in conclusion, it seems that she kind of has a great understanding, almost so much that she doesn't get it. It's kind of weird. She wants to belie the fact that men, or a lot of incels really, or black pillars or red pillars, quickly and easily and clearly understand that being called creepy is indeed shorthand for being called ugly. Because every dude has rationalized or has seen clearly that attractive dudes are able to do things that unattractive dudes just are not able to do. Sometimes just as simple as saying hello, hi, goodbye, and you look nice today. As our friend here put it, there's always some sexual undertones into what's going on between an interaction between a man and a woman, especially like during an approach or during some type of flirting or even just a regular casual interaction. And especially this is the case when you're like at a bar or at a club or at any type of social event, really, even like going to like the fair or the arts market. So, the reason why these women feel uncomfortable is because they think of you sexually, and because you're not sexually attractive, they become scared. Henceforth, uncomfortable. Uncomfortable might be better than scared. As such, that is the cycle, or at least the explanation, as to why these men are considered creepy. These women think of these men in a sexual way, and because they don't like it, it's uncomfortable, because they're disgusted, because they're not turned on sexually. we flipped it on its head with an attractive male, all the same activities actually become endearing and loving, or not loving then sexual or hot or whatever. You pick your adjective. Again, she didn't really disprove anything. Quite ironically, she kind of proved all of her commenters right. I just thought it'd be fun to kind of point that out. So that being said, actually we guys got something out today's video. Hopefully you've learned something that you didn't know, and if you did, I don't know, you can click the like button. Yeah, shoot, go and click the subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below. And as always, you guys have yourselves a great day. I'll see you cool cats soon. Adios.